Welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live programs. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Savage, and I'll be your host for today's show. Today, we will be exploring the topic of taking it in stride as it relates to our lives, our experiences, and anywhere from the lens of musician, artist, performer, manager, and all the way down to eye level of the crude and unfiltered human being. Why should we taking it in stride? Does it really save your life? There is no one-size-fits-all answer, and this could leave you with more questions than simple answers, but it's more real that way, and that's what we're here for. And here's a little preview to recap our last installment on the art of discernment. Check it out. Today we will be exploring the art of discernment. What do you mean by that? By art of discernment? Like what are you trying to say with that?
You're kidding, right? I know an artist who's absolutely sensational, but this person cannot tell if anyone else is good. To this person, everyone's phenomenal. Absolutely can't tell if anything's good or bad. You can be great at something. This is fascinating to me. They do something so well, and they go, "Oh yeah, that's
or it's that.
Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, they do that so well. That's such a beautiful nocturne. I can't imagine it being more beautiful." And I'm going, "What planet? What rock
years?
did you just crawl from under?" I think discernment, just the word conjures up a very complex feeling. Can you decide if something's good? Can you discern between good and bad? These people in the audience, these 3,000 people in a big hall, they need to have the art of discernment. But what do? We play for people who, I just got off my meeting with the car dealer, and, they're walking into the hall at 8 o'clock. All they want to do is be transported out of their heads. They want it thralled with it. This is the art of discernment. Can you tell the difference between great art and mediocre art and okay art and excellent art and superb art? There are many levels. Discernment is everything.
Right.
Everything. If you don't discern, there's nothing. It's just all vanilla. It's all milk toast. I believe has a level of standard that opinion does not. Yeah, discernment is serious. Opinion is, that's a great piece of art. Gustav Meyer used to say to me, he's deceased now, he was my father-in-law, a great conducting teacher. He said, "Richie, they don't know. They don't know." He would say this to me all the time.
And that was our last recap episode, and hope you enjoyed that. And today I'm excited to be joined live with co-host and celebrated partner in crime, Dikron Atamian, otherwise known as Jack Price. And just to give a little introduction, formerly known as Dikron Atamian and now known as Jack Price, he began his career in artist management in response to his own career as an RCA recording artist after winning first prize in the 50th anniversary Naumburg competitions, and as well as being known as the crazy pianist who premiered The Right for solo piano. Jack Price, welcome to the show.
Crazy indeed.
Look at that audience. Listen to that audience.
No, that's because they know I'm crazy. That's why they're cheering.
Yeah.
They like crazy people. Yeah, they like crazy people.
Yeah, sure. We like them around here.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go right into door number 1 for today's topic.
Okay.
Taking it in stride. So
why should we?
Why should we? Why?
Well,
why
taking
do
it in stride. I know it's for me, this is a very difficult topic, and that's why I chose it. I don't take anything in stride, so I thought it would be good for me to listen to my own words. What I do is I watch
Yeah.
these shows later on and I go, wow, yeah, you should do that.
Really take
You
that
know,
guy's
make it-
advice.
Yeah, I need to take my advice more often. I'm
This
really
Jack
good
Price
at dishing.
guy.
I'm
Yeah.
really, I'm dishing it out real well. Taking it, that's another story. So why should we? Okay, because it's not worth it. It isn't worth it. All these things
What
that
is
we
it?
worry about. Yeah, I'm going to define it. Have you ever found yourself? Here's a scenario we can talk about. Have you ever found yourself just deep in worry? Now,
All
think
the
about
time.
it. Yeah. Well, we had this show, Worry. What did we say? No matter what, it doesn't do any good.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
It doesn't, because the act of worrying and not taking it in stride can affect your health, and that's door number 2. We'll get to there
Right.
in a minute, but there's a story about that too.
Oh.
The point is, what is the point? The point is, okay,
Yeah. Why should we?
should we?
Why do we? And it's a
Is
it's a
because
difficult
it's
topic.
not that. It's like the line in the Batman. You know, Heath Ledger goes, "Why so serious?" You know that line.
Yes.
He goes, "Why so serious?" You know, when
Why
he's
so
about to
serious?
cut somebody up, you know,
Right.
wants to put a smile on their face. You know, with the-
Yeah. With the Chelsea smile. Yeah.
yeah. Why so serious? Let's all smile like the Joker. No, it is why so serious. Why is everything so serious? Why do people take themselves so seriously? You see,
I think you
Why-
need to.
yeah,
Sometimes.
but no. But the thing is, when you take yourself seriously, people interpret that, and it's not good. You know, they think of it as conceit, arrogance. You know, oh, he takes himself so serious. He's just so wrapped up in what he does, and
Yeah,
or
yeah.
she. You know, I mean, it's
It's easy
not
for people
really,
to take it the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, if it was just you, yeah, you can be serious. But what it does is it gives off this vapor of, you know, no one really is in my league, and, you know, that kind of thing. So taking yourself seriously is better than taking it in stride, but it's not. Taking it in stride means, and like I said, it's not something that I do easily, taking things in stride.
That's true.
For example, the littlest thing will tick me off. So that's not taking it in stride, you see.
Yeah.
So if the littlest
Don't
thing
do
ticks
that.
you
Yeah.
off, yeah,
Try
my
not
mother
to do
used
that.
say- my mother used to say, Richie, don't do that. You know, she would say that to me all the time. I'm not going to tell you what I told her to get that kind of reaction,
Don't
but
do that.
yeah, I did a lot of things where she said, Richie, don't do that.
I'm
You
sure.
know, she had broken English. Her name was Azniv, which is a very odd name. It's an Armenian name for pleasant. She was a very pleasant person, and I am not. And so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, people hate me. You know, they just don't know what to do with it. So, you know, that's okay, because I'm very comfortable, as you know, in my own skin. So you see, in a way, I do take things in stride, because I go, it's just not worth it. But I do get very upset over the littlest thing. But then I find myself getting it dissipating very quickly. So do I take it in stride? Yeah, I think in the long run, I don't really care. That's what it comes down to. You know,
Right, because it dissipates quickly. Then
yeah,
it doesn't-
if it dissipates quickly, you don't really care that much. If it gnaws at you like it's a burr in your saddle, you know, then you do care. You do
Oh, no.
really care. Yeah. So if it keeps going, you know, it's like festering, then you
Mm-hmm.
care. If it goes away quite instantly, it's something you don't really care about.
let me
that's
ask
a nice
you
picture
this,
right there, the
though.
two sculptures. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm surrounded by Talek Winter today.
surrounded by Talik Winter's art.
Yeah, I'm
and his
so
connection.
surrounded.
You feel the connection.
And I feel the connection, and the outer people are so important to me, and I'm taking it in stride, you see.
There you
I'm
go.
not taking it seriously. Yeah.
But
So-
back to taking it in stride though, and you're talking about you know it dissipates quickly, and you realize that you don't care, and it's not worth it. you don't care that
Yeah.
much in the end to worry about it, because taking it in stride is, you talked about worry being it, right?
Right.
But let me ask you,
Sure.
is it wrong to care so much sometimes, though?
Well, some people think it's a sin. If you talk to certain Christians and real devout, they think worry, because our leader says, don't worry about tomorrow. Today's worries are enough for today. But we really shouldn't even worry today, because then we're not trusting in who we believe in, which is, in the Christian's point of view,
Faith,
God, Jesus, faith, and the fact that they'll take care of you. So, but, he also gives you a brain, and you got to take care of yourself. I mean,
Right.
I believe he only helps those who help themselves. It's not like, you're lazy, you just sit around and God's going to take care of everything. It's
Right.
not that kind of thing. You have to be an active participant in that process too. You have to
Right.
help yourself. Nobody's going to, I know I don't help people that don't help themselves. That's something, is that godlike? I don't know. I can't stand helping anyone who goes, I'm just not going to do it.
That don't care at all, right?
They have to be in it for me to care. Okay, so we're getting off a little bit, but taking it in stride is sort of like taking it with a grain of salt, you see. It's very similar to that phrase. If you take something with a grain of salt, that means you're not really, it's kind of tongue in cheek, you're not really, you're not really taking it seriously. It's like someone's opinion, take it with a grain of salt. Someone you don't respect, take it with a grain of salt. If they're a joker, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So, but taking it in stride is not quite the same thing. Stride suggests an occurrence. It suggests something happening to you, like, let's say, not winning a competition, since we're always talking about competitions. Okay, so if someone does, I talked to someone the other day that was calling about management, that had been eliminated in the first round of some doohickey competition, and they weren't that upset. And I could tell they took it in stride. They know that it's political. They know that it's biased. They know that there's an agenda. They know
all
this,
these things
they know
going
that.
on, right?
And they know the jury, which may not be of quality, is looking for a certain superficial quality, possibly. And that's why they were eliminated, because they're a serious artist, okay, this person. Okay.
Yeah.
So take it in stride. It's a good idea, but it's very difficult to do. You see what I'm saying?
Right. It's
That's all
nice
I have
in
to
theory.
say.
That's kind of your personal experience, I'm sure. Speaking.
Yeah, I'm speaking from experience.
How have you
Should
done it?
we?
How have you-
Why should we? Because it's good for us. Taking things too seriously, or taking one's self too seriously, can have repercussions and consequences. Okay, and that's what we'll get into in door number 2. But the point is, should we take things in stride? Some things I think we should. In other words, it's kind of like picking your battles, kind of. Like when you're bringing up a child, they do so many things. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable here.
Like trying to raise a child.
When you're raising a child, you just want to do it perfectly, and you want to raise the perfect family.
The first
At least
time.
I did.
Yeah.
You find out when they're 12, you've failed. Basically.
Is that how it goes?
It's right around 11 or 12 where you go, I didn't sign up for this. But I was an easy father, compared to my father and other fathers that I observed. I did take it in stride, because I knew I'm going to repel the child if I go, oh, don't do that because of convention, possibly. Like if the child tells you something that's unconventional from your standpoint, you might say, oh, come on, that's totally wrong. It may be right for them.
Right.
So I'm kind of that ilk.
Which could repel them, right? Yeah.
In that way, I would say I'm more progressive or liberal But
Right.
most of the time, I'm not like that. I'm a fiscal conservative, that kind of thing. I like to
Okay.
conserve my money and assets. I don't like throwing it away on vacations. I don't even like vacations. I take it in stride that I don't like vacations. It's not a
All
serious
right.
topic. Yeah.
Right.
Besides, I've
Okay.
been everywhere. So, that, see, it all is a combination of variables. Why someone takes something in stride and why another person takes that very same occurrence not in stride. And they take it
Yeah.
very seriously and they cry and they're upset. But it's to each his own. But
Okay.
the answer
Yeah.
to the question is we should take things
Because
in
it's good
stride.
for us.
It's
Yeah.
good for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than worrying because as we've gone over in previous episodes of season 1, worrying doesn't do anything for you, really.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's pivot here with a
Pivot.
clip that we like to show right here on JPIR, right from the archives. So enjoy. And that was our little musical interlude from the JPIR archive. So hope you enjoyed that. And let us move on here
I
to
love Schubert.
door. Yeah, that was great.
I love that piece.
Does it encompass taking it in stride? I hope so.
I think it's a very happy piece considering Schubert's life.
Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like
it's
very
very-
whimsical.
Yeah,
and
it's really
light.
nice. He wrote
Yeah.
some great stuff. It's really
Sure, yeah, and you don't often hear this one, so. Okay, moving on, let's check out door number 2. So, taking it in stride, does it really save your life? And you alluded to this a little bit, but let's
Yeah.
really get into what you mean.
well. I think it can. I'll tell you a story. This is story time. So someone came into my house one time. I owned a house somewhere,
Yeah.
and they go, wow, this guy must be really uptight. It's like everything's in my place. I don't know if you can tell from this set. Everything's just right. It's the housekeeper comes
meticulous.
in it's meticulous. There's no dust. There's nothing out of whack.
Yeah.
and
Everything's where it should be.
So they look
Yeah.
in my drawer of silverware and they go, oh my gosh, it's worse than I thought. It's like so neat. Every
Oh.
fork is piled, just perfectly, and the spoons and all
Like
the
your sculpture
weird,
behind where it's all stacked up perfectly like that.
yeah, like little soldiers, right?
Yeah,
the
like little
spoons are
soldiers.
like little soldiers. The knives are like
Sardines.
little. I always call it soldiers. It's sort of like in
Yeah.
The Sound of Music when the Von Trapp family singers,
Yeah.
line up for the first time, and the captain blows his whistle.
Oh yeah.
They're all at attention. That's kind of like me. And so the guy said, "Man, that's going to take a lot off your life." So I said, "What?" He
Oh.
said, "Yeah, haven't you heard when someone is that meticulous and they can't stand anything out of place, it takes seconds off your life." So I said,
Oh, they sometimes.
well, how do you know that for a fact? And he says, well, of course, I don't know it for a fact. It's something that has been studied and surveys have been done and, tests and,
Right.
whatever clinics. And they say that when someone is that meticulous and everything has to be just so, it's going to shave time off their life. So I thought about that and I thought it's very possible. So I think my opinion at this point is it can save your life to take things in stride. Don't be so, this is my advice, in other words, I'm not saying I take my advice,
Yeah.
but this is what I would do.
This is Jack Price's advice.
Yeah,
Hour.
Jack Price's, well, no, that was called Advice with Jack Price or Price Advice. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Price
Anyway,
advice.
so it's Price Advice. So Price Advice, if I put that hat on, would say, choose your battles. Don't take everything, as we said in the previous segment, so seriously, and be meticulous where meticulousness is required, but don't do it so much that it shaves time off your life. That's what I would do.
That it starts consuming your life. And by saving your life, do you mean saving time, or do you mean saving your health, or do you mean all of those things, or what do you mean?
Well, it's like, okay, I have sleep apnea, and I developed it about 2 or 3 years ago. And so now I wear, the CPAP mask and everything.
Yeah.
I look like Bane from Batman,
Batman.
that bad guy,
Yeah.
I don't know
And
how he
sound,
talks.
do you sound like him? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the bane of your existence from 9 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning.
Okay, great.
That is, if anyone's sleeping in my bed, I'm the bane of their existence. I'm usually alone. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm the bane of my existence. But anyway, the point is, I have sleep apnea, and they say if you don't take care of it, it can take years off your life, sometimes 15 years off your life. So I wouldn't say taking things in stride is that serious. I would say it takes off seconds, minutes, from what I've heard, not years, whereas sleep apnea, it's not comparable. Sleep apnea can be very damaging to your health over time. Majorly, but there are some people, I know a guy, I won't name him, who just took that CPAP and threw it in the garbage. He said, he put it on one night. He said, forget it. This is for the birds. Never put it on again. And I said, you could die, you could have a heart attack or a stroke, they say.
Like this could save your life.
I don't care. He says, I don't care. Well, I care. Okay, so I wear it. And actually, now I feel it's very comforting. Oddly enough, it's
really?
kind of, I kind of like
to be Bane.
Yeah, it's good to be Bane. Yeah, that's what I
comforting.
say. Yeah, it's good to be Bane, and I look forward to my supplies when they're delivered every 3 months. Like, I get a new little strap and a new headgear, a new mask, a new pipe, the hosing. And the filters. I'm really into it now.
Okay, yeah.
Pretty soon I'm going to get a new CPAP. Pretty soon I'm going to ask for a new CPAP, the actual machine, and they're going to say, Richie, now that's expensive. The other stuff is cheap. Okay, so I take it in stride. Whatever they tell me at Nationwide Medical Center, I say, okay, I take it in stride. I don't need that. I know, But the point is, what is the point, Richie? The point is some things like the furniture, like that joke, how did Helen Keller's parents punish her? They rearranged
the furniture.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's funny, but in a way, the drawer with with the spoons and the knives and the forks is indicative of my life. My life is meticulous. You see how meticulous these shirts are, and they're perfectly ironed, and I don't show up like Mr. Wrinkle Man,
Right.
you could call me Mr. Clean, like the guy on the
Uh-huh.
bottle.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is not necessarily good, okay? But
Mm.
it's me, but I wish I would take things more in stride because I think it affects me. So my advice to the audience, if there is one listening, I'm saying take things, balance. It comes to the word balance. Life needs balance. You don't need to be so vehement about things. This has to be this way. I remember this
Right.
pianist I was studying with. I played some Bach for him, and he said, "Oh, you broke my heart here, like at this spot in the piece. You just
Yeah.
broke my heart." Well, you know why I broke that person's heart? Because they didn't play it just like he does. You know, so it broke his heart. I was individual. I was Richie instead of so and so, and so I think he needs to take it in stride. I don't have to sound just like him. I should sound like me.
I think you
Right?
broke his heart because you played it much differently, and he wished that he could play
Yeah,
it
he
that
wanted
way.
it a certain way. Oh, I remember the passage very well.
Yeah.
And I didn't play it that way, and you broke my heart.
Oh.
And I said,
Interesting.
Mister So and So, I think that's a little overreactive. I didn't break your heart. I don't
Yeah.
see your heart breaking. You're not crying, and you're still alive. Okay. So
Yeah.
the
Okay.
point is,
Totally.
take things in stride. Take things easy, but that doesn't mean just lay back in a hammock and what's
Yeah.
the famous show, The Life of Riley, where this guy Riley just
Yeah.
lays in a hammock all day long and everything
Oh, right. You
perfect.
talked about the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Life of Riley. I don't like The Life of Riley. I don't like that concept. I'm the opposite of The Life of Riley, but Riley was a good guy. He relaxed. He took life easy, and this is a good antidote for those who are very, very, very. I'm not going to use the word, but it starts with an A. Uptight. In other words,
Workaholic.
they have to
and
have,
whatever.
workaholics and things like. They have to have things just
Pedantic.
right.
Pedantic.
It's
Yeah.
like the three bears. She goes and sits in the big chair and she goes, "Oh, this one's too big, and then this one's too small. This one's just right." That's
Right.
the story, right? Of the
Yeah.
Goldilocks. Isn't it
Yeah.
Goldilocks?
Goldilocks. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Goldilocks this story is indicative of what I'm talking about. Things don't need to be just right. I think things need to be balanced and in the vicinity of right. But just right all the time? Yeah, in a piece of music. Okay, I can see that.
Should we change the name of the show to Jack Price's Just Right?
Yeah, I think
Or
Jack
About
Price
Right.
Jack Price is just right, just like Goldilocks. Right? I love that. That's a
Right
good
there,
one.
yeah.
Ding dong.
Yeah. Ding dong.
I can see
Yeah.
that on the reel now coming up next week. These
I see it too.
little vignettes. Oh yeah, I see it. Jack
Yeah.
Price is just right.
Watch out for that.
Pretty. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. But
Anyway, yeah. So does it really save your life?
yeah, I think it does
Final
to a
thought.
certain extent. Final thought is it can save seconds and minutes, but I don't think it's like the CPAP. You see that
Right.
analogy?
Yes.
That can take years off your life if you don't use it. It can. I'm not saying it does, because it's still up for grabs. Dentists are conclusive about it. They all insist that without the CPAP, you're going to grind your teeth. The air passage is not going to be clear, and you're going to stop breathing 29 times an hour. That seems to be like the magic number for me. So now my episodes have dropped to 0.8 sometimes. Sometimes they're 5, sometimes they're 13, but they're nowhere near 29. Where my heart, in other words, where I don't breathe. So no oxygen is getting to my brain or whatever. That's the fear. So
That's pretty major, yeah.
That's major when you stop breathing. So I would say take things in stride in another area other than your health,
Okay. Yeah.
In that way, I think you should take things seriously. So
But it
that's the
can
show.
save your life can save a little bit of time, shave off a little, less like worry. Take
It's
take
similar
the
to
worry in
worrying.
stride.
It's
Yeah,
similar
similar.
to worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking things
Okay.
in stride is related to worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
All right. Super interesting to get into, but we are running out of time, so I want to thank you so much for being with us today,
No problem.
Richie. And we've got Jack Prices just right.
You're sounding. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And with that, the time is right. I do want to take a moment here to thank our partners and sponsors, all these organizations supporting us all along the way. You can see them up here, and we constantly have new ones joining us all the time, and we're grateful for everybody, without which this broadcast would not have been possible. So thank you guys so much. Thanks everybody. And I want to give a big shout out to the production team, as always. Today's broadcast was powered by Christian Pelagi, directing behind the scenes. That's him right there. I also forgot to mention that we are streaming on all of the major platforms, Vimeo, Facebook, Twitch, even Alignable, LinkedIn. Check us out on any of these, whatever your favorite place to watch your content is at. And with that, I think that's all we've got for you today. This has been Jack Price is Right. Maybe next time it'll be Jack Price is Just Right. I'm your host, Jennifer Savage, and I hope you've gotten a little something out of it. I know I did. See you next week.